Hello there, this is Remington Steele. Okay, so I want to just quickly talk about how I got into the Warhammer hobby. Basically, when I was 11 years old, my best friend Lee had an older brother called Guy. And when I went round Lee's house, Guy was around there doing a Warhammer roleplay game, and he had a whole bunch of figures from the Lord of the Rings movie, which before Peter Jackson made his trilogy, there was a sort of a late 1970s half cartoon, half film version, which, if you were a child of the 70s and 80s like I am, it absolutely blew your mind. And that and a film called Excalibur, which I think was about 1982. Amazing, amazing films, and really got me into gaming, fantasy, and kind of all things sword and sorcery. So all my first kind of 100 or so figures that I started collecting were in blister packs, and here is one of the first ones I ever got, which was an kind of an ogre mercenary. My first paint job of this fella was absolutely atrocious. So this is my kind of rehashed version of him. So I've got two or three. I think it's a Jez Goodwin model. I think. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I just absolutely loved them. In those days, basically as a collector, you would, and even as a gamer, you would just generally collect figures that were good or figures that were evil. And your army, now I'm talking sort of Warhammer Fantasy 2nd or 3rd edition rules. Okay, your army would really consist of not regiments but sort of individuals, or very small groups of figures. So you might have, you'd have hobbits, or you'd have halflings, dwarves, some humans, some elves, all in the same side against I don't know, chaos warriors, some undead warriors, some dark elves, some orcs, goblins, snotlings, whatever. And you wouldn't fight as regiments. It would be, okay, this bowman is going to shoot at that chaos warrior there. Roll a dice. And so the games would invariably last for hours and hours. The rules were a lot more simpler. But from looking at all the reports, I think it looks like it's much better now. So let me just go back. I actually moved away from the hobby, I don't know, kind of the late 80s. And over the last couple of years, I've sort of discovered all these models that I put away and started painting them again. Well, I actually started selling them on eBay and realised that they were actually worth more than what I paid for back in the day. So, of course, I got quite intrigued, researching, and I ended up buying a whole lot more than I ended up selling. And at the moment, I'm collecting an Ogre Kingdom's army. I'm collecting a Marauder Dwarf army. Marauder Dwarves were absolutely beautifully crafted models. They're kind of like dwarves in a Renaissance style. So I think the current dwarves that Games Workshop make have a kind of a Norse-like feel to them, Norse/Saxon type feel to them. Well, these dwarves looked a bit more sort of, I don't know, more elegant, more empire looking, and they're really actually quite expensive. They go now on eBay when you buy them because they're out of production. You're looking at about £4 or £5, maybe as much as that per model now. And back in the day, I think it was £2.50 for 5. All right, so there's inflation. They've doubled in price. I think when these ogres came out, they were kind of £1.99, maybe £2.50 per model. Now a figure like that, I've seen them go for £25 on eBay as a buy it now, which I think's way too much. So over the next few vlogs, I'll be showing you the rest of my collection, and perhaps less of me in your face talking and more pictures of my models. Now, where am I at in terms of gaming? Well, I'm still kind of a painter right now. I love watching the video battle reports, and I want to get into the gaming side of it. But my biggest problem is that I can't quite finish my armies off. Basically, I get burnt out. I'll start painting up to 100 miniatures, and before I finish a regiment off, I just get so sick of painting that figure, I have to do something else random. And as a result, like I was saying, I've got an ogre army, I've got a marauder dwarf army, I've got started a vampire counts army, and once you get kind of 30 zombies in or 40 skeletons in, you just had enough. But I get them out, I put them away, I get them out, and it kind of I dip in and out. And I guess my first army that I started collecting was wood elves. Okay, wood elves. So I've got a bunch of wood elf models from the 1980s, mixed in with some of the fantastic new ones. My main reason for not quite finishing them was that I just got so annoyed by the kind of, the faces. They're so tiny and dainty. It's really hard to get any kind of out of the faces, and that's what initially attracted to me. I like their elegance, I like their fluff, I like the whole kind of defending the forest vibe. And as I've got into the hobby, I've started to get into more of the evil guys. Much more fun to paint. You can just cover them with blood, all kinds of stuff like that. So just to finish up on the wood elves tip, I will be showing you my wood elves. I'm pretty proud of most of the models. And before I started looking into the gaming side of things, I ended up buying a whole bunch of Wood Elf Eternal Guard on eBay. And before I realised that no one actually likes them, no one really uses them in the game because they're so weedy. So who knows? They might, when the Wood Elf 8th edition rules get rewritten for the Wood Elves, they might end up being really, really great figures. They're actually, I think they're quite difficult figures to paint because you need to put a lot of love into each miniature, basically. Whereas the plastic models that come out now, I think they're much more adapted to speed painting. There's not so much detail. Like back in the 80s and 90s, the figures that were being made, they had all the weapons, they had spare weapons on the backs, they had pouches, they had little other little things for money, they had all this kind of detail, which is fantastic when you're painting individual models, but when you're painting a whole regiment, it kind of really gets lost. So that's yet another introduction. I'm sorry for talking all this time, but I'm quite excited after watching everyone's videos and getting into the community. I just wanted to put my 2 pennies worth in there. So yeah, this is Remington Steele signing out. All the best. Take care. Bye bye.